finally.
We highlight people in like real life. There's no bullshit, no filters, no fillers. They're just keeping it 100 so that the aspiring generation, it doesn't matter how old you are, has a realistic look, a deeper look into people.
We all have fake names.
Oh, you were telling me a little bit about that yesterday.
We all have, like, so I just called him, that was like, I just broke a rule.
Slava's my real name. Ivan's my direct name.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Misha, so like it doesn't matter to me, but my last name obviously is not Montana. So we pick, you know, and choose like our
Yeah, my full stage name was a joke originally because I was working in television and mainstream movies, and I got a job shooting behind the scenes for a porn company. So we're sitting there, we're like, what name we're gonna use? We're all wrestling fans, so we're like, so they're like, maybe you could be like Ivan Koloff, which was a wrestler. You're Russian, and it should be something. And then we're like, well, we can't use a fucking copyright name. We can't use Ivan Koloff or Ivan or Nikita Koloff or stuff like that. So our boss, who had the best titles, who come up with the best titles for movies, he did a series called Meat Pushing and the Seat Cushion, Gapes of Wrath. He did like amazing. Gapes of Wrath is the best. So he's all like, what if you go like by Ivan, middle name E, last name Rection? I'm like, what? He goes like Ivan Erection, like Ivan Erection.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. Like, you know, I'm just shooting behind the scenes. I didn't give a shit. But then once I started directing, I was like, I hate that name. It's stupid. You know, it's just because there's a guy in the industry. His name is Vic Vagina. So they said of Vagina.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, no one's gonna take him seriously. You know, even though he's a big Brazzers director for a long time. But so I wanted to go and start using my real name Slava, and my boss was like, you've been fucking built up as Ivan Erection. You can't change to Slava. No one's gonna know who the fuck you are. So I'm like, I'm gonna go by Ivan E. Okay, fine, you're Ivan E. And then I just went by Ivan. So, but the funny thing is, still reviewers to this day think they're funny. The ones who know me for 20 years, they do a review of a movie directed by Ivan Erection. I'm like, you assholes, I haven't been Ivan Erection for fucking 15 years. So, yeah, you come up with names, and you try to come up with names that you go and do Google search. You're supposed to, and most girls don't. They just kind of like, I'm gonna be this name, and they want to be literally a similar name to another person, or they can't get the social media account for it, or the domain name. So you should do your homework before you get that. And you know what I would do? Every girl that would come on to Alterotic that wanted to start something, I went and got their domain name for them to make sure they have it, and I would give it to them.
Wow.
I did it for
that
Evelyn.
girl earlier, or the one that's gonna be here.
Yeah.
She's on her shit where a lot of people are not. Cause like I've been helping her though too. I told her to she and I discussed names. She sent me like a list of names she wanted to use. I suggested ones I thought, you know, were better. She picked it, and then she came back to me and was like, hey, I just tried to get all, which is smart. She's like, I tried to get the domain, I tried to get Twitter, I tried to get Instagram. It's not available. So, smart. That's exactly what you should have done.
Yep.
And most people don't do that. The problem is, too, is like, people are like, I'm gonna go buy, like if I was like, Misha Kardashian. Good luck with that.
No shit.
And people use, like, so my boss, for example, used her original stage name was a very well-known car brand.
Was she Lexus originally?
Yes.
She's the one that Lexus reached out to?
They sued her.
Okay, so I didn't know
Leah
that.
Lexus, because it was, so now her name's Leah, what's her stage name? It's Leah Lexus, but L-E-X.
That's so different.
So she's the Leah Lexus.
She used Lexus, L-E-X-U-S, okay? And Lexus, the fucking Lexus brand, cease and desist, their attorneys fucking reached out and were like, knock it the fuck off.
But was she that big that they could? I mean,
honestly, it depends on them. Like one of the girls
like
I
Jameson,
do.
The fact that Jenna Jameson got away with that too. Jameson.
Who's
Jenna?
But I think Jameson's spelled differently.
Like,
well, Capri Cavalli, she had to change it to Cavani because Robert Cavalli. Yeah, his estate reached out to her and said, you know, you need to change your name. But there's another Cavalli in the industry that hasn't been touched by his estate. Rachel Cavalli.
It just depends. It depends on who, like, what you use. There's some people that use names.
There used to be a guy named Dick Tracy in the industry. God rest his soul down there, motherfucker. He was the only person when he passed away during the AVN Awards, and they do their in the memoriam shit. When he died, I don't know, he died, and I was like, oh, finally. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I literally said that out loud. He was a dick. He was a dick. He was a homophobic prick who did gay porn. and thought nobody knew, and he was a homophobic prick. And he would talk
Wow.
shit on other guys who did gay porn. It was
Gay
like,
porn.
wait, you just did a lumberjack gangbang, and you were like the lumberjack of the gangbang, and you have the nerve to like call, you
People
know,
out.
gay men and all kinds of bro.
Porn is very
But he
weird.
went with Dick Tracy, and no one ever did anything to him, and he spelled it the same.
Pete, that's an interesting point though too, because like porn, you'd think it was the most like open place in the world. It's probably worse than normal. Like, or we call it
Very
civilian, like
Yeah, so good.
the
we're like
civilian
military.
world. Yeah, like
Yeah,
we're doing a
that's true.
service.
Well, you're doing a service.
We were technically.
I'm just recording it.
But there's like so much homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, there's a lot of nasty stuff about the industry that like you'd think were in porn and people would be tolerant, and they're probably least tolerant than anyone else, any other industry. I think it's discriminative more than any other industry.
I think with the industry, it's so because for years when I first got in, for years the issue was now it's not like guys can do gay porn, straight porn, and crossover. Back then there was never that, because and the reason it wasn't homophobia, it was literally because of fan base, because fans were so loyal to porn back then that they literally would know which guy did straight, which guy did gay, and it would affect sales. Because I remember working for the first company I worked for, and my boss took me to the warehouse. We were using this one performer. He was ex-Marine, and he takes me. It was Rob. He takes me to the warehouse, and there was like this. It was a fireman gay porn DVD, VHS. Sorry, VHS. This is so long ago. And he goes, "Look, your boyfriend's on the cover." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Look, Seth he does gay porn." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "We can't use it for straight." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's all like, "One, like fans are so, because they were called trench coaters back then, which were guys that are so like into. They knew every girl's scene. There used to be a website, I forget the name of it. This dude, he reviewed every scene down to every position and ranked everything. Each movie had a ranking, so you could literally go and type in a girl's name, and it was like a database. There was no pictures. It was just like a database. Girls, the scene, this is the position, the pop shot was here. It was insane, but that's how it was back then. So it was this thing of like, also the issue was in gay porn, they didn't really test for HIV. They used condoms. So what started happening was like when crossover talent started coming to do straight porn, they had to get tested, popped for HIV. They probably didn't even know. So it became this thing where like companies were like, well, we can't risk that. And some talent was like, I don't want to risk that either. And it wasn't anything like, oh, gay people, like fucking religious people, AIDS is for gays, and it was just horrendous to say. It's not. It has to do with anal sex because there's blood. That's what it is. It's blood. Because women do anal sex and there's blood. It's the same thing.
We test at a frequency that it's every 2 weeks. For 14 days we have to test.
Thank you for touching on this. I was just gonna ask a question. Good.
Every 14 days for everything. Blood, urine. So it's chlamydia, gonorrhea, trick,
syphilis now.
HIV, Hep C, B. I think that's
Personality tests don't count because they would all fail.
But it's a negative. It's all negative. But there's the, people think you're just having like this wild sex all the time.
Yeah.
You're going around like, honestly, in porn, like we have less like casual sex than anyone that I know in my personal, you know what I mean? Like I don't know anyone that runs around and as soon as they have sex with someone, they go get tested.
You know how many porn girls I've been with in my 20 years of directing? 3. 2 I dated.
I thought it was
one,
2.
No, the one that looked like Tila Tequila.
Oh, Tila Tequila.
Not Tila Tequila herself. She looked like Tila Tequila.
Damn, that's a throwback, Tila Tequila.
Yeah, well, she was Tila Tequila of porn. So it depends on the director, obviously, but like the 2 I dated, my ex and her, and it's gonna be like that forever because I'm not I didn't get in the business to get laid.
Side note, that's also like, this is a hard cut, but alcohol, drugs on set. That's something to discuss. This has 0.5% alcohol, but even so, frowned upon. So
on most sets. Legally, it's supposed to be frowned because you can't sign paperwork because if you're
but that's like people don't, but they don't understand too. Like I don't think the normal person understands what a porn set is. Like,
right.
It's literally like when Christy was talking about her boyfriend is like, do you just go outside? You're just banging the directors and you're banging the camera guys. Like people think like, and I'm like, it's so funny to hear what people like because you don't know.
No, you want to right. I was gonna ask you, do you still have like even though this is your woman and right and but you're still doing productions and stuff like that. Do you still have the average adult model, right? Was what I learned how to call women last night. Mm-hmm. Do you still have them that they want to maybe like reach out to you like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I'm one of the few directors. The girls back then when I got in, like BJs were like a handshake. They were just throwing them around like no one's business. And I would turn girls down on set, and some would get angry. And I would say to them, I'm not wrong set, wrong director. And we've had girls get pissed off, and I'm like, I'm just respecting you. I don't understand because we're so used to because so many directors pulled that fucking.
It was like second nature and shit.
Yeah, because in porn, sex is not an emotion. It's an act, you know, and it's a performance.
We actually had an interesting discussion yesterday about this because, to me, like, so sex you detach completely from, and when you're performing, people don't understand like, to me it's not sex. I wouldn't even call it sex. Like I wouldn't even consider it sex. Like.
So what would you consider it then?
Performance, because it's like I've never come in a scene.
Okay.
Ever, and I've shot fucking 100 scenes probably. You know, to me it's not about that. It's not about. There's obviously people like we're human beings, so like clearly like there's some people like you are physically attracted to more. Or you have some kind of like chemistry with or something, because it is ultimately it is sex, right? At the end of the day. But we were talking about it yesterday because I'm like, I think there is something to this where physiologically, even if like consciously, I don't consider it like I take emotion out of it. It's an act. I'm acting, and it's funny to watch. You'll see if you're here to see me perform. People are so funny because they're like so different, like. Just there, and then you just turn it on, and I'm a totally different person. Like people get like freaked out when they see me perform. They're like, "What the fuck is that?" But it's to me, it's acting. It's not sex. It's an act, you know. And people don't understand that because they're like, "How do you just have sex with people? It would be so gross." Like, you know, what if you're not attracted to them? It's because it's not sex. It's literally
a performance. It's a
performance. But I think there's an underlying thing. We're not meant to have sex with that many people. You're not. And even if you take your emotion and your present like conscious out of it, I think your body and mind still respond in some ways. Because you're not meant to. It's supposed to be, you know, I don't believe in monogamy necessarily, but like, you're not supposed to have sex with that many people. Like you're just not made to. So I think there's something to that. Your subconscious like recognizes that it's not normal, you know. That's why so many people, you know, end up with emotional problems and drug dependencies and alcohol problems or other substance issues, or they check out in other ways, because even if we're able to, which I'm able to separate it, I think subconsciously we're not able to. Just a theory.
Well, it's also hard, I think, sometimes. I think in the beginning for Misha it was hard because she's performing in front of me. And there was,
that's true.
Yeah,
I was not a good performer.
Once she got comfortable, understand, because we would have to have talks. Because at first she thought I told her not to shoot with some male talent. Because in my opinion, and she was brand new, and I said, look, I like these guys. They are here, you're going here. Now you're gonna give them fucking content of their lifetime.
Right.
For fucking what? For a scene? For free? Concentrate? No. So at first you thought I was jealous. I shoot most of her shit. I'm not jealous. I actually still, after the scene, I'll be like, that was fucking amazing. Like, because of the performance, like, because if I'm not gonna do that, then she's gonna be self-conscious. I used to be friends with, I'm not gonna say her name, but she was a big name performer. Her boyfriend, this is fucked up. If she did a scene, he wouldn't touch her for a day.
Yeah.
If she did an IR scene, he wouldn't touch it for 2 days.
So explain what IR
Can you tell me
is.
what an IR is?
Interracial. So,
Okay, holy shit.
well, in the industry, it's so weird. In the industry, interracial doesn't mean white and Asian or Asian and Hispanic.
It's just
It means
black.
only white,
Yeah.
black, or black guy, black girl with someone that's not black.
Okay.
And it'd be last year, Twitter, the porno Twitter, tried to cancel the term IR. And when I would be on set, because I've been in it for fucking 20 years, so and I learned these terms and why they were there. I would have to school people, and people were like, "Oh shit, I didn't think about that." And I would tell them, I go, "Look, the reason this term IR even exists, it has nothing to do with owners being racist. What it was, and I remember asking our sales guy, big sales guy at one of the companies I worked for, and he said, he goes, "Look,
searches.
so what happens is, because back then it was just movies, they weren't internet per se, right?
Right.
So you go to adult shop, you go to a DVD section, movie section, and you have your big boobs, gay, whatever, and then you would have interracial, which would be a scene like that. So it would affect sales in the Midwest and the South if there was one IR scene in the regular movie, in the movie with 4 or 5 other scenes with just other non-black performers. So if that went in the regular, just regular porn section, whatever you want to call it, sales would drop. So because people in the South and the Midwest didn't want to see that, because to them was whatever it is,
Right.
it's not their cup of tea, whatever. So when
And they're racist.
that's basically
They're racist.
So what would happen
Right.
is, if we wanted to use a certain performer, we just did a whole movie that was, black cast, whether both people or one different color, whatever. And so it was literally a sales thing, and it was the numbers, because even now,
And it's still, that's why they couldn't
it's all
be
numbers.
canceled, because it's literally search term.
Right, it's like a category, if you will,
Right,
something
it's
for
not-
somebody to look it
It's
up.
not meant to be
Because the
racist.
thing is
Right.
people look, oh, you're
It's
fetishizing,
descriptive.
certain people. Yeah, but that also goes with foot fetish. That goes with
Right.
BBW. That
Right.
goes with big boobs. They're all
That's what
fetishes.
they want to look for.
Porn
so
is
how
a
did you put that
fantasy.
in?
It's what it is.
Right.
Porn's a fantasy, and when you go and search, you're searching for the fantasy that's going to get you off.
Right.
And a lot of talent, they lived off being the IR queen or the IR male performer.
I shoot a lot
so-
of.
yeah, she shoots, and it was almost canceled, but now I hear people using it again. I don't know
Well,
how.
it wasn't. They tried to get, but the thing is that was the time though that everything was. That
But to
was
be
hot
fair, it
canceled.
is a fucked up term
It
because
is fucked up, but it's
I was on the set
If you don't
once years ago.
understand it, though,
Yeah.
you don't understand why it's being used. It's not meant. So how? Then what's the solution when you're searching?
you have to
say,
describe the
white
scene.
woman, black guy. That's also. You know what I mean? It's not
think
meant
it's
to be racist. It's not,
Right.
but there's the back in the day,
Oh yeah, back
how
then, especially the
it was-
stereotypical, the way it was stereotypically shot.
it was horrible.
it
These
was-
girls were throwing around the N word. White girls were made in the scripts to throw around casually the N word
Damn.
on camera. Horrible.
And it depends on some girls more
But then it's
comfortable
also
getting into it,
it's
but some.
it's a fetish thing.
Yeah, no,
If
that
we,
is.
the first time I
weird.
shot it, where a girl said that, I was directing a scene
Never.
for a website,
Okay.
and it was, I don't know if you know who Wesley Pipes is.
Yes, I've heard of him.
That man is
Exactly.
dark.
Knows
That
names.
man is tattooed. He's
Yeah.
a scary looking dude, and he straight up asks the girl, "So, just can you call me this?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm just like, I've been to one other set where this happened, and it was super crazy skinhead, and
That's
he's in a
stupid.
cage,
Yeah.
and he's calling this black guy the N word, and the guy's fucking his wife, just insane. So it was surreal, weird scene.
crazy.
This was different, and I'm just like, fuck, my heart was skipping a beat because I'm going, is she gonna do it? And she did it over and over again,
Never.
and he loved
No,
it. And the more she said it, the
No.
rougher he got, and the scene was amazing. But that, and afterwards I go to my
No,
partner,
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no.
I don't know, man. That was a lot. But again, I think they both of them were really into it.
Right.
Right.
But then, and who are you catering to? Obviously, there are enough people watching it or
Right.
loving it.
And there's a lot.
And there's a lot.
Which is
and there's a lot.
disturbing in
And,
itself.
and most likely, it's probably a racist white dude.
Yeah,
But
that's
100%.
vicariously living through that shit.
That's
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
That's and then that's so. I was on set once with a girl who's in and out of prison. Asian girl, super hot Asian girl, right? It was a boy girl, and I remember I have this on camera. It was for I think it was Extreme. No, it was for Extreme, and I'm just interviewing her, right? And the other guy, one guy was white, one guy was Hispanic, and somehow IR came up, and I go, so is this your first IR scene or something like that? And no, we were, and yeah, I go to her. So how does it feel doing your first IR scene? Because we knew she didn't do IR, and I was just fucking with her.
Yeah.
She goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, you're Asian, and there's a white and Latino. That's IR, right?" And she goes, "Oh no, I don't fuck and hard R on camera," and I was just like. Did she just fucking say that? I was like, well, we can't even use, we can't use that shit. Like,
Right.
what the fuck? And she was a pretty big name.
People, either you are racist or you're not. You know?
Of course.
And but that's what, like, you know, using terms like that, if you're comfortable using that term, you have used it before. It doesn't just slip out. We don't casually just say it. You know? Like, if you either use it or you don't. So I believe, like, once you say it, that's enough for me to know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, how many people do I have on my no list for that exact reason? My son's half.
Okay.
And that's beside the point, but I am like hard. If I know you said it, I've gone into people about it. That's
your line in the sand.
And I will fucking publicly go in. I had to pull, perfect example, this motherfucker has been in the industry forever. Shot with him. He was kind of questionable because he did something with a different, not racism, it was a transphobic thing, which it bothered me, but not, my trigger is that, right? So I was like, okay, well, it's probably questionable, but like, you know, let it do its thing. I shot with him. Mistake. I've never put the scene out. It will never be seen from me. He's put it out and advertised it. A few weeks after we shot, he's fucking throwing around the N-word. And I literally, like, I had to call my publicist because I was about to lose it on Twitter.
I had to calm her down because I go,
He
look,
did too.
remember Twitter? Every day there's
I was
10
about
different
to
dramas
lose it.
that happen, and yours
They're
will
like, just let it go.
Like,
That's what everyone said. They're like, don't bring attention to it for my sake. Let it go. Let it slide. But I was like, I wrote out, and I'm on the phone with both of them at the same time. Like, they're fucking phones. Like, just like, I am about to lose my shit. Because that's my thing. That's my line in the sand. Like, and I will make it publicly known how fucking horrible you are and how I feel about it. That's it for me. I've laid into performers who are mentoring about it. That's it. Like, I never pop off about anything. But yeah, you want to see me pop off, then fucking throw the N-word around and I will fucking destroy it. Like, even last night I was telling a story about this bitch that fucking, like, said the N-word on fucking, to her boyfriend or something, and he posted it. Remember that girl you're talking about?
Oh my god.
And I'm like, just me sitting here, I'm like, who is it? I want to fucking see it.
This girl got canceled by the whole industry. It was
Holy shit.
she should have been canceled for the industry because just her attitude. Because I shot her a few times and her attitude was just.
But like, the same shit. You don't just say it. You don't just say that casually. Like, if you're comfortable saying it,
Yeah.
then you said it before. Like, you don't. It doesn't slip out like a Freudian slip. Like, oops, I just said it accidentally. It's horrible. So that's my. But you know, like we were talking about, it's just there's different fetishes. There's different stuff that like, you know, people are interested in, and that's what like the younger looking people thing. That's so a lot of the issue coming up here, which our industry's fucking ignorant and stupid and thinks that we're untouchable. Most people don't know that porn's only legal in what, California and
Like New
Maryland
Hampshire,
or something
New
weird?
Hampshire, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so like
To shoot.
so like for example, we're in X location we're not gonna say. It's not legal to shoot porn here, and most people think it is.
Yeah, they look the other way. They don't care.
They don't
Yeah.
care. It's not. They don't have enough
But on
money
paper,
to criminalize
it's
it.
not.
It's not legal. So all this OnlyFans stuff, which is a good point too, to make to people that are civilians. OnlyFans, I love OnlyFans because it makes me a lot of money, as it should, because I am in the industry. Should be on a platform like that. You have no business being on there, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Or like,
We're not gonna make money anyways. Yeah, people assume that OnlyFans is.
But they've made
quick,
it.
easy money.
It's
It's
dangerous.
It's not.
It's dangerous
Extremely.
for non-industry people. Platforms, not just them, but like the way that it's been mainstreamed to be like cool and hip and like this thing that everybody does and they're gonna make tons of money and you know what I mean? Dangerous. Because people don't understand porn is a complex animal. There's obscenity laws that most people don't fucking know, right? There's consent issues. There's paperwork requirements, 2257s that no one fucking does. Even performers don't fucking do on their own OnlyFans. That's how stupid people are.
Yeah.
There's so much to the OnlyFans thing, but you're talking testing. These people in the pandemic, OnlyFans blew up. These people are fucking banging each other in their bedrooms, pulling people off Tinder.
Tinder, yeah.
And like, what the fuck? And that's the problem is those platforms, because of that and that fucking recklessness, we're all gonna suffer because of that. Because you have super conservative politicians using that. If you saw what happened with Pornhub, they pulled all of their.
It was like 7 million videos or something.
They pulled videos, but it was a lot for underage stuff. So the conservative argument against porn has always been sex trafficking. Absolutely ridiculous fucking argument. There's no validity to it. There's no evidence. There's no, like legitimate proof that it's tied to one to the other. It's non-existent. They try to pull bullshit out of the air and make it stick, and people believe it because they don't know. They don't fact check, and they literally don't know.
Well, just to give an example, so years ago, there was a couple of cases of HIV, positive.
Oh yeah,
HIV.
that's another thing. Yeah.
So the media blows it up. In porn, you go and get tested every 2 weeks. Somebody tests positive for HIV.
It's
quarantine.
production shutdown.
So nobody shoots. So like the person that tested positive, they whoever they work with, they go on the first quarantine list, and the people that they worked with second, and it goes like that, and then everybody has to get retested. That's basically like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type shit. So anybody that came in contact with these people have to all get retested, and for the industry to pass HIV, you have to have 2 people test positive. One that gave it to somebody else on set. It's never been like that. It's only been one couple that tested together, and there were a couple, of course. So every other case has been, except for like 18, 19 years ago when I first got in, 5 people caught, and there was one person that gave it to them. But since then, it's been one person gets caught, catches it.
And they stop.
And everything stops.
Production. It's not
But
like
the mainstream made it look like, mainstream media, there's an outbreak of HIV in adult. And I was at Walmart one day, and there was a petition. This was like election year. There was a petition, and this guy, he's got this petition. He goes, "Hey, can you sign this?" I'm like, "What is it?" And he goes, "Well, there was 8 cases of people catching AIDS in porn this year. Not even HIV, AIDS, 8 people." And I go, "You sure about this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, like there was 8 people that caught AIDS in porn this year." I go, "I'm actually in porn, and there was only one person tested positive for HIV." And this person goes, "Oh, because these people don't know. They're getting hired. And that's the problem with
misinformation. But they use it beautifully and what they're gonna do this year, and that's the problem that I have with these platforms is like, because it's so easily accessible, and it is totally unchecked. It is like in the ways that it should not be, they're going to introduce legislation that criminalizes sex work harsher than it already is. It's illegal, like prostitution, all these different things. But porn, if you think that all these people, even in our industry, that just kind of turn a blind eye to it, like, no, that's never gonna happen. Bet
Well, we have a condom law in LA.
Is
If you
it law?
shoot without a condom and you get caught, you get a crazy fine. There was actually years ago. This is so crazy. Police was getting paid taxpayer money to watch webcam shows to see who's using condoms or not. And one studio,
Yeah.
they raid or whatever you want to call it. They go to the studio and they go. They had screenshots of the
this-
webcam
and they
show
look at
with
the
a
stats.
with a date, and this person got busted. And all they want to do, and this is how crazy it is, they don't care about people's safety. It was literally you have to wear condoms for scenes. Then you have to buy the government's specific bucket to dispose these condoms and pay somebody to come with a hazmat suit pretty much to collect it. So it's like it's a money grab. It was insane. And so there's still a law, condom law in LA County, not Ventura County, LA County, but nobody, and you know what happened? A bigger company used to use permits for shooting. Because in LA you have to have permits literally to shoot your own house. So bigger companies when they shot big productions, they would get permits to shoot on location or whatever, or to rent studios. Once the condom law passed, the city lost almost every single permit account because companies were afraid to get permits because now the city would know where you're shooting. So they would show up to check to see if you're using condoms. So the
And
LA
the
County
law's
really
still
screwed
in
themselves.
existence.
It's still in
by the
existence.
way.
And they try to pass another law, which was a crazier law. If you're a couple webcam, and you don't use a condom, you could get fined as well because you're perpetrating the fact that you're not using condoms and you have to use condoms because it's safer for the community.
Well, technically, like,
Isn't that
That's your personal shit. Why should you have to do any? That's your.
And you're a couple too.
but the moment it hits public, it changes the game. Like, that's what people don't understand too. Like, you can't just like this whole the content craze that people, you're secretly recording, you're posting things without consent. People like, even someone we know who's a performer had an ex that they filmed a home video and fucking posted it without her knowledge. Cannot do those things. People, it's reckless, it's out of control, but I mean, and it's going to go unchecked probably, and unfortunately it's going to be at the detriment of everyone else who does it correctly. And the problem with that is they're going to use that, just like all these examples. They used HIV, they used sex trafficking, they use these trigger points. Once they get it, they've already started it with the OnlyFans thing. I use OnlyFans because that's the biggest one. There are others obviously, but there's legitimate legislation coming this term that will criminalize sex work harsher than ever before. And if that happens, then we're in trouble. And it will happen. I firmly believe that it will. And it will go under the radar, and there's nothing anyone can do about it because they're going to use all these things. That Pornhub thing, they pulled all their merchant accounts. MasterCard, Visa pulled out of Pornhub. It's the biggest online company in the world. If they're not, immune to this, then how do we think we are? And it's a problem. And people ignore it. And they just don't understand that, like, what is happening is so dangerous to everything. Like, they could put into effect what we're doing will be illegal. I will go to prison for what I do, just for existing. That's a fucking problem. They're doing everything they can to help that. So, it's a problem that needs to be handled, and honestly, I don't think it's going to be. It's dark, but it's
No, it's
important
real
to
though.
understand.
It's a good insight.
It really is, because honestly, people don't talk about that either. Thanks, background though.
We had a day one time at Extreme Associates that was the most insane. It was like 3 productions at once going on.
Once?
At once, because
Where?
Because our old building.
So it's different.
Oh yeah, it was like
Oh my
crazy.
God,
And
that's
actually, I
crazy
wasn't
to me.
directing that day. I was just there. My friend, who was director for another company, came. He's never been to our set. You always heard about like Extreme Associates. The owner went to prison for obscenity. The stuff we shot.
Side note, it's Rob Black was the owner of Extreme. He went on there It was like, yeah, I shoot borderline illegal porn. Come fucking get me.
Yeah.
Basically.
So I
Fuck
started
you to
working
the
for him
feds.
literally right after that. And what the feds pulled.
Usually they leave you alone, by the way. Usually they leave you
Yeah,
alone.
yeah. Well,
There are laws.
back then there was a lot of indictments.
80s.
No, it was
Right?
late 90s.
Late 90s. Late 80s.
So he does this interview and he's like, well, we should borderline illegal porn. I dare the government to come after me. So what these fuckers did, because now you're dealing with the biggest gang on the planet,
Right.
our government. So they create a PO box in Pennsylvania.
This is how city laws work, by the way. So
And they order 5 of his movies off the website to be shipped through regular mail to Pennsylvania. One was called 1001 Ways to Eat Jizz, so it's different ways to eat cum. Stirring it up with eggs, whatever, you know.
fucking horrible.
Right?
It's
creative.
Extreme was fucking gross.
So they did
For
a
sure.
movie called Forced Entry, which was a rape movie, but it's all staged.
But
one of the couples was
that
actually
scene,
married.
yeah.
So there was an extreme teen, and I guess one of the scenes the girl was like doing Pokemon shit or something. So which establishes she's under 18, I guess, in the government eyes, whatever.
Sure.
And there were 2 other movies.
The one with the Statue of Liberty.
It's the Statue of Liberty
Which
scene.
actually we're going to fucking do.
So there was one where the Statue of Liberty gets fucked by a bunch of
Gangbang by
presidents.
We're doing it again. I'm doing it.
So and he so they indict him for 5 of these movies. Now he's a crazy man, but he was a genius. So he comes out with a box set called the Federal 5. And he would sell them out, and every time he would go like 60 minutes for interviews, he would literally sell out on the whole warehouse would be gone with these movies.
But
Yeah,
he's probably the problem why they were able to hit him with obscenity was because you're mailing through federal mail across state lines obscene material.
And every state has different
Laws.
obscenity laws.
Pennsylvania has
And
harsher.
Yeah, because they're more conservative, at least back then.
Yeah.
So their obscenity laws. There's
So
some
it's
states who
broken
don't
law.
allow blowjobs or anal sex. It's illegal.
You can't use toys. You can't
Yeah,
buy
so-
toys. Alabama has one of the harshest. Utah.
I
is
actually,
illegal.
when I was at Anabolic, this is before emails, we would get letters from different fans. Alabama, a minister from Alabama sends us a letter with his, letterhead. And he's like some big minister out of Alabama who knows the police department, and all he wants to see is girls with big boobs lactating. Can you guys shoot girls lactating? And he goes into the story why he likes it. When he was a young boy, he saw a cop fucking a hooker in his cop car. And she had big boobs.
Fetish, yeah.
And it became his fetish.
Yeah.
And he's all like, if you guys ever want to come in town, I could show. And this was a big time minister from Alabama.
Yeah, but honestly, that's you'd be surprised. So people that condemn porn so harshly, right? They're the one. Why do you think porn is so lucrative? Why do you think so many people watch it? Because if the people who say they watch it openly, there's a lot more than that, right? So the majority of people that watch porn or have severe fetishes like that, they're the worst of the worst are ultra conservative, ultra religious. They are the worst. They're the ones that have they are getting fucking ass fucked by femdoms in the closet, and they're the ones that are anti-abortion, sex and everything. They're the worst. They really are. So it's an interesting thing to see even so, for example, I wear, my merchandise that's from a well-recognizable company, and people a lot of people know what it is. How the fuck do you know what it is if you hate it so much? How do you know who I am? The hate mail that we get, I have really good fans, but here's the problem, the bigger I get, the worse it gets, the more you're open, susceptible to it. The stuff that people say to us, and to colleagues, unbelievable. I mean, you're talking death threats. You're talking threats on your children. You're talking threats on your family. I mean, and it's scary, potentially. Stalkers. And these people are not just even accepted by society, they're emboldened to do so. It's acceptable for someone to
I think a lot of people
threaten my
don't
life.
understand that porn people are still human beings because
Yes.
they detach that porn people are, especially performers. They're just performers. They don't understand these people have lives or kids or possibly issues or
They
families.
hate it.
It's
They
not
don't care.
with me, and everybody in the industry basically says I have the best reputation because I've always looked at it like this. Every performer is either obviously someone's child, possibly someone's mom, someone's sister, someone's daughter.
Why?
And why would I fuck up their brain for a scene that I'm shooting? You got to treat each person as an individual person. You treat them with the utmost respect. And you know what? You treat people with respect, they'll probably do a better scene for you. They'll want to come back and shoot with you again. And I used to shoot a lot of first timers. Literally, that was like what I did. And the company and the agents trusted me to bring the girls. And I would tell the girls, I go, let me tell you, you're gonna get spoiled because you're gonna leave. And every girl got a little stuffed animal at the end of the thing. She's like, here you go. And then I would run into girls months later. They're like, that was the best shoot I ever had because it was relaxing. There was no stress. No one hit on her. Stuff like that. It was literally, we come, we do cool stuff. You do only whatever you feel comfortable doing, and you move on. And I would have girls actually, years later, I still have that stuffed animal, my dog fucks it or whatever, but I still have it on my mantle because a check comes and goes.
Right.
But something personal sticks around. And people that are not in the industry forget that because they detach themselves from that's a human being. No, they think it's a fuck doll.
Yeah,
that's not reality.
Like,
and that's why those messages are like that to performers because I get messages where guys are like, I want this girl's number, or give me her number because I want to marry her, or send me her scene. I'm like, this is a human being. What are you talking about? They're just sitting there. Okay, I can't wait for this guy to come and fuck me.
But people
That's not
legitimately,
reality.
they actually think that though. They actually think you're just like.
We used to at Anabolic. We used to get fan mail, and the people would be like, hey, can you tell Shyla I said hello? They literally think we all live in one giant house, like surreal life, and we're like, oh, shooting scenes here, when directors are in this wing.
They're like, you should shoot with this person for this company. Yesterday, I got a fucking Instagram DM, Twitter shout out, fucking comment on my page, email, and fucking WhatsApp from the same motherfucking person.
Whoa.
It's like, why don't you shoot for this company? These, like 3 or 4 different ones, and this scene with this person. 6 different fucking forms of communication.
Yeah, most people think that everybody in the industry knows each other, and which is not true. Even with agencies, most girls in the same agency don't know each other because it's not like people hang out together. Everybody's got a life, and a lot of times people don't even live in the same city or same state or same country. It's this misconception of what the industry is. Like, it's funny. I brought my filmmaking partner one time to set. He's like, I've never been to a set. I brought him to a set when I was still working for the company, the owner that went to prison for obscenity. We were shooting a movie called The Sixth Sense, which was like The Sixth Sense, but it was like I fuck dead people. That was instead of see dead people, I fuck dead people.
So good.
And it was a girl scene, and it was a super intense scene. And after the scene, he goes, I don't ever bring me to set again because it was that insane.
Yeah.
But then because he just sees people talking and he doesn't understand that this is a performance. But once it starts, it's pretty intense.
Right.
So people can't comprehend that these people are acting. They're human beings because once the camera stops rolling, they have to go back to their lives. They have to go back to their loved ones or whatever else. That's the saddest part about the industry is that you just don't get people understanding that these are human beings. And and to be fair, some people in our industry act like they're not fucking human beings because the social media is so fake.
Yes.
So fake.
Yes.
And people are like, they put on this front on social media, and people believe it.
Yeah, they do.
Believe it, and it's great. I've had people reach out to me. They're like, "Can you fly me out from my country?" I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "You're rich." I go, "How do you know I'm rich? You have a car. You have a house." I'm like, "That doesn't make me rich."
Well, there's like celebrity
I know a lot of people that basically live paycheck to paycheck, and on social media it looks like they're balling.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
you post only. Social media is a business
Yes.
platform, and you post only where you're trying to brand out yourself, and people forget that or just don't realize it. I used to get emails from people like marking out is like a wrestling term where it's like you become like this like super fan, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you respond to me. Like, why? They're like, you're on YouTube. I'm like, I'm on YouTube. Do you know like you could literally start a YouTube channel for free and be on YouTube as well? But that's how MySpace is what started this whole trend of social medias. you know, and people, everybody wants to be a minor celebrity, so they all have social media and put on this front. And the crazy part is how people just can't separate that this is a show. It's really entertainment. It's like that show Surreal Life.
Yeah.
Remember that show Surreal Life? That was the first reality show, and it created a monster of bullshit.
Yeah.
All reality shows are scripted.
Yeah.
Everything is scripted. There's not a camera person following them all year to catch one moment.
No, they know. They're
know.
anticipating.
They're like,
Yeah.
this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're gonna say. This is where you're gonna do it, and that's it. And but people don't know. I love some reality shows, but I know what it is. The day I realized Duck Dynasty was so scripted, I was like, I'm done. I never watched it again because they're cutting to different camera angles of a moment that's supposed to be like spur of the moment. Like, I have two fucking camera angles where this doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So social media, and I think this is why people feel so emboldened to act out a certain way towards people in the social media, because they think that.
I think it's also just like, that's the whole way that they've always been taught, or like, you know, groomed to view, you know, people that are in the sex industry. It's derogatory, you know, like we're lesser people because of what we do. And like I mentioned earlier, that reference, like people that I even know, who know me as a human, that I grew up with, they fucking treat me like the same way.
Yeah.
So it's systemic, it's socially constructed, you know. It's crazy to me. And that's why like it's so important to me to show this side of it. I'm showing stuff, and so the showcase is gonna be turned into a mainstream documentary. It's a huge fucking project that we've been working on for months. And there's a lot of stuff in it that's gonna make a lot of people really fucking uncomfortable. It kills me to do it too, and I don't think people understand. Like, I don't want to do it. I never wanted to be. I'm not public about any of my. No one knew I had a son until the documentary. Friends of mine didn't know I had a son.
When she had her stroke, I went out there the next day. But then I went home and came back 4 or 5 days later, and we rented a hotel room to shoot an interview with her. And I mean that interview, one is incredibly emotional, and plus you could still see the wear, the tear on her face from the stroke.
Wow.
And we started going, and I asked her, I go, do you mind talking about your son? I go, we won't use it. Let's just record it to have it.
Yes.
And that was the most emotional part. That's why, like, if you see the interview in the trailers we do, and the really emotional stuff, at the end of it, it's actually the end of her talking about her son. But you would never put it in perspective, because in the porno version of it, that part's not in it. Not at that point. And but we shot this cool part about her sharing her emotion of like having the stroke and wanting to get back home to her son. So she's gonna die, I want to be there at home. So we do this part, and I never edited it. Like, it wasn't going to be in the movie. The movie was done being edited, and then she calls me one day and she goes, I want to put that in the movie. I want to have the movie start with that, because I want to show the impact and the human side of what this is.
Yeah.
And that was emotional. Because that's how the movie starts. It starts off with her talking about she's, you know, I have a 5-year-old son with cerebral palsy, and she goes in this whole thing. And it's so impactful and so human. And then that's from that point on. And the few trailers we cut and we show to people that are mainstream people, they're like, you guys need to put this out as a regular documentary. So we're like, screw it. We have all this footage from our first time we met. Was it November of?
So much stuff.
Yeah, so we have
we film constantly, so like there's so much stuff that happened throughout the year, different things, and things just don't stop fucking happening. That's why we can't end it.
No, that's exactly it. Literally, something else happens. Oh, she has another surgery, or now my mom's in the hospital, and this and that, and so it just, there's just so much to it that just keeps going. I've been doing this for 20 years. The first AVN award I ever won, I was 110 nominations deep before winning my first award, and I won Best Web Director. And so I was used to this. I'm like, I'm not gonna win. My company doesn't advertise. We don't have big budget movies. it is what it is. And I prepared her, like, look, your movie should win. Because if you're gonna do a showcase, this is a showcase of a human being in porn with amazing scenes, but a whole story. In fact, she's got a heart monitor attached and she's doing a scene, 2 scenes. That's insane. You know, it was 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it was after the stroke.
Wow.
So we go to one of the award shows, and they started off with this monologue. A big name performer is doing this monologue about our industry is filled with human beings. We're humans. This is about us. We're not just, you know, just pieces of meat. She just goes in this whole, and it's really emotional. It's really cool. The slow camera move. I love the camera move because I'm a camera guy. I'm like, she's saying some cool shit, but that slow camera move is amazing, right? So I'm like all into it. She's into it. And the first award that's being given out is Best Showcase. And I'm going to her and go, they are literally setting it up for you to win. Because what she's saying is literally this is the only showcase ever to be like this. Because one, also you never had performers have a fucking stroke and do scenes right afterwards. Or open up about their son with disabilities. And then have heart surgeries. When we have all this footage, the night before her heart surgery, I went and secretly recorded or had people record well wishes, and I cut it all together and I gave it to her to look at the night before because she was so nervous. That's all in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's her bawling listening to all these people. So I'm like, if any award show is gonna give this award, it's gonna be this one.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They gave it to the biggest budget movie,
Of course.
the biggest name, and you're going, yep. And this is why people look at this industry and say, you're fucking idiots. Because the fact that the industry can't, they want to humanize it. We're all human beings, but God forbid they do the right thing and give it to the right project. You know, and she was an emotional wreck the rest of the night because it was so personal to her. Because she opened up her whole heart and life and family to this.
Yeah.
And complete, and this is like a performer came up to her afterwards and like was holding her. We have footage of this, and she started telling her, your courage outweighs any of this bullshit. And and so it was so impactful. And the thing is, a movie that wins, yeah, it looks great because they spent probably 50, 60 grand on it, and the scenes look wonderful. And you know something? Every other movie that spends that kind of money looks the same way.
Right.
The ones that came previous years, the ones that are gonna come next year, it's gonna be recycled, expensive scenes, same shit, people doing the exact same thing. When is there gonna be another movie that shows off the humanity part of the industry? And they dropped the ball. And I was trying to console her, and I was explaining to her, like, it's a sad part of our industry. You know, so when it's hard to sometimes defend it. Because when I was in the hospital for 2 months, I reached out to all the big media outlets in our industry, and I said, look, you guys should do an interview with me. Not because I need the PR. It's literally, I know a lot of people that work the hours I work and are unhealthy because they're so immersed in their job, they don't pay attention to my body told me for months, years, you're gonna die. And then it came to a point where I almost died. And those media outlets said, well, let's see how it goes. And I'm thinking, you're doing another piece on a brand new girl fresh off the bus, this girl's first anal. Who gives a shit? It's just recycled next girl.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do a piece on that girl, talk to her about her being, what makes her tick as a human being, not her favorite fucking position. You know, it's like, humanize the people in the industry, then maybe it'll be taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that it doesn't, you know, like, she should be the poster child for what the industry is because of what she's put into it. We had a huge fight last night over all this because of how much she's putting in, how much she's dedicating to this, and how little everybody else around her is. And it's frustrating because she's 32 years old. She's got a son with disabilities. We're trying to figure out how to get her to be in a more comfortable situation with him living with me in LA. It's tough because that means she's gonna have to step away from the comfort of where she lives now. And it's scary because there's so much we still have to do to build a brand, to start actually making money so we can pay our bills and be comfortable. And it's a process, and it's a human process, not an industry process, because every human goes through that. Every human has to pay bills. Every human has to deal with death in the family or health issues. That doesn't stop because you're in porn. All of a sudden, life is great. No, that's not that's bullshit. Even millionaires. I mean, millionaires killed themselves.
Yes.
Celebrities, because that money and fame doesn't mean shit because you're still a human being who's struggling. And that's the part I think that is missed out and missed.
So,
Don't.
like you said, she should be the poster
Well,
child.
and it just the industry doesn't work that way.
Right.
You could look at that as Instagram. The only time she gets a lot of views or likes when it's something sexy. God forbid she posts something about
Is this a good one?
Right.
Nobody gives a shit.
And thank you for
I don't even want to look
your
at it. I don't give a shit.
Oh, by the way,
Right.
the reason
So it's
we
just
did
kind
it
of
was
like
taking
the
one,
human
by the
nature
way,
of.
it was not her. It was
And that's why social media is such bullshit. It's because those people don't give a fuck about
No.
shit. They only care about that visual stimulation at that moment. They either get it from you or 10 other girls that they scroll down. And it's as quick as like click, 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 click. Don't even read it. You could literally post a beautiful picture of yourself saying, I'm dying tomorrow. And they will click I like because they see a pretty picture. They don't even
Yeah.
read it. And so that's
They're
why
not
it's
reading
so
the fucking caption.
They just don't care.
Yeah.
They just want to see that visual stimulation. Click, move on. Click, move on. So that's the part that's once you realize it, you kind of use that for your advantage to brand yourself, and you just can't take it seriously. You